and welcome everyone. This is Mr. Manfred, your shotgun ape, bringing you a shotgun breakdown video, looking at some of the best shotguns in the game right now, and how the different perks generally affect these weapons, so that we can determine what is the best rolls to getting that one-shot kill at a maximum range. First and foremost, we're looking at the barrels and how that affects the pellet spread against a wall at the same distance. And this is a full choke shotgun, which is generally known to have the best pellet spread RNG. And so we're just testing a couple different shots here from two different shotguns that have full choke. And it's definitely noticeable that these are fairly tight packages, and keeping the pellets tight is going to be incredibly important to making sure that the majority of your pellets land, which at farther ranges equates to getting that one-shot kill as the numbers do start to fall off. So next we'll be taking a look at a full auto perk along with a full choke barrel. Something that maybe has been known in the community for some time is that full auto does add pellet spread, but I did want to test it for myself, and you can see in this background gameplay, it has added some spread to the pellets and the overall consistency of the shotgun as well. And so it's definitely going to be something to take into account when choosing this perk. Moving on, we want to look at some other barrels. Here we have rifled barrel along with full auto, and so we just wanted to test and see what some more of these different barrels look like, because on the stat sheet they do appear to add more range, but are going to reduce the consistency, as you'll see in the background gameplay, because the pellets are spreading quite wide in the overall distance that you need to be trying to get your one-shot kills from. Next we'll be looking at Smoothbore, another one that does look good on the stat sheet, but overall is going to be far less consistent because it does not have the pellet spread RNG that full choke affords you. And so again, in the background gameplay, you'll see that the consistency of these pellets is just not nearly as tight as something like full choke. Moving into Smoothbore, another one that does look great on the stat sheet is something that actually says right in the text that it increases pellet spread. So something to take into account when choosing your barrels. Again, that you're probably going to want to go with full choke because it's just the most consistent in overall pellet spread. Lastly, we did want to test some of the faster firing archetypes like the lightweight and rapid fire frames. And this is something that was actually quite interesting that we realized is that these overall have a wider base pellet spread than most of their partners like the 55 and 45 rounds per minute shotguns. And so this is one of the reasons why these are far less consistent, not only because they have lower damage numbers and greater fall off, but because they are in general having a higher base pellet spread than any of the slower firing archetypes. And so our key takeaway from this initial footage is that full choke is going to be the best barrel at keeping your pellet spread as tight as possible at the longest ranges. And in conjunction with that, we also learned that full auto does increase the pellet spread as well, so something you'll have to take into account when choosing what perks to add to your full choke shotgun. Moving on though, we do want to test how these shotguns perform at different meters and how that actually affects the damage fall off depending on the range stat. And so moving into that, we'll have a look at different shotguns with different perks. In this background game footage, I just wanted to show you how we were doing our testing, using the Darcy to get the different meter ranges that we were shooting from, and also we were using a number of different shotguns. You'll see in a previous YouTube video I've made, there is a Dust Rock Blues farm in a lost sector in the EDZ that makes it quite easy to get quite a few of these and take your chances at a good random roll. But in general, we were doing these testing at different meters, shooting numerous different shots from different shotguns, trying to get a basic idea of what the numbers look like using different range stats. Without trying to factor in the immense amount of RNG involved in what shot package you actually get from the barrel that you're using, and also the different damage numbers that might pop up between the 2 or 3 that are possible at a given range, we were able to develop some pretty good averages for what damage numbers you're going to see and how the range actually affects that fall off. And so what we were doing here was adjusting the range stat primarily by switching on and off accurized rounds and a range masterwork, but also by using other shotguns in the 55 rounds per minute archetype to see what the damage numbers look like at the 7 to 12 meter ranges and comparing them to each other. And you'll see that in a spreadsheet here coming up in just a moment, how those damage numbers came out and what exactly they looked like when those stats were changed. What these tests showed us was that at the 55 rounds per minute archetype, altering the range by 10 points and even upwards of 40 points of range was not changing the damage numbers in any meaningful way at the different distances. Really, it came down to fractional meters where the damage numbers might alter slightly, and it was about 0.01 meters to 0.02 meters that those 40 points of range might come into play. We then began to test the 45 rounds per minute archetype by altering the range stat in the same way and moving between the 7 to 12 meter distances. Something I do want to touch on briefly is the Raishin shotgun, a blue shotgun that, while being rather easy to acquire and fairly consistent in the 7-8 meter range, was actually completely ineffective at the 9 meter range at getting the one-shot kill. After taking shot after shot after shot and either leaving them one shot or about half health, the Raishin was just not capable of completing a one-shot kill in the same distances as the Toil and Trouble, Mindbender's Ambition, or even the Balligant shotgun, which has almost no range on the stat tree. The Raishin aside, one of the most important findings from the 45 rounds per minute archetype was the curated roll for the Mindbender's Ambition, which comes with opening shot. This perk actually had a meaningful impact on the damage numbers. The results from the 45 rounds per minute archetype were the same as the 55 rounds per minute because the range stat was not affecting the damage numbers as we moved further away from our target. However, the Mindbender's Ambition with opening shot was getting higher damage numbers than every other shotgun and in any other test that we have done so far. So it was very clear that the opening shot has a range value that affects damage numbers in about half a meter to even a full meter of difference, where no other range stat or perk has been able to show this. The last archetypes we need to cover are the lightweight and rapid fire frame, not only for their one-shot kill potential, but also for their two-shot kill potential. We had very similar results in both of these archetypes in both one-shot and two-shot kill potential, but one of the most interesting things came from the motion to vacate, which also comes with opening shot. Now, it's not a great shotgun choice, not only because it doesn't come with great perks like full choke, but also because it doesn't random roll, but it was maintaining higher damage values than any of the other shotguns as we move further away from our target. Opening shot aside, these results were consistent with our previous tests because the damage number falloff was not affected by the range values. Also, the one-shot kill potential of these faster firing archetypes was at 8 meters, and the two-shot kill potential maxed out at 11 meters with a steep drop-off at 9 and 12 meters. These numbers will be helpful in choosing the right shotgun for your playstyle and how to use each of these shotguns when in-game. But moving on, we do want to consider some mathematics just to find out why these shotguns are capable of killing at certain ranges and just how many pellets have to hit in order to land that one-shot or even two-shot kill. To break this down, we'll look back to our charts that show us how much damage each shotgun is doing at each range, and also consider that each shotgun round has 12 pellets. When considering the 55 rounds per minute archetype, at 9 meters, the average damage it can output is 258 with a max of 264 and a minimum of 252. Even at suboptimal damage values, 3 pellets can miss and still one-shot your opponent. At 10 meters, the 55 rounds per minute shotguns have an average damage of 234 and a max of 240, which means that 3 pellets can miss on optimal RNG, but more likely only 2 pellets can miss and still land you that one-shot kill. What this means is that the max range that you can land a one-shot kill consistently is probably only 8 meters because of pellet spread, and the max absolute one-shot potential is 9 meters. Maybe once in a blue moon you can hit one at 10. So without going overboard on math, these numbers help to shed light on what ranges you can actually rely on your shotgun to get the one-shot kill. Moving into the 45 rounds per minute archetype, at 9 meters, it has an average damage of 282, and it can miss upwards of 4 pellets and still one-shot. Moving out to 10 meters, without perfect RNG, only 2 pellets can miss, with an average damage of 246, which is why, because of pellet spread, it is fairly unreliable. And at 11 meters, with optimal RNG, only 1 pellet can miss, otherwise all 12 must hit, and so even though the damage numbers are there, it just can't kill at 11 meters. And even with opening shot on the curated roll of Mindbenders, it did not have full choke, which leaves the 45 rounds per minute max kill potential at roughly 9 meters. Before reaching our final conclusions about these shotguns, we do have one last archetype to consider, and those are the 90 and 100 rounds per minute. The max kill potential at 9 meters, with an average of 234 damage and a maximum of 240. At optimal damage values, only 3 pellets can miss, but most often only 2 pellets can miss, and those are optimal damage values. Moving out to 10 meters, damage begins to fall off, and the average damage is only 204. With perfect pellet RNG, only 1 pellet needs to miss, and not one shot. So this puts the 90 and 100 rounds per minute shotguns in an interesting spot where its max kill potential is at 8 meters, but it's far less consistent than the 45 and 55 rounds per minute archetypes because it can only miss 2 pellets, with a steep drop off at 9 meters where it just never gets the 1-shot kill. And also, its 2-shot kill potential being at 11 meters is still slightly inconsistent, and also it has a steep drop off at 12 meters where 2 or even 3 shots still will never get the kill. So when considering these 3 shotgun archetypes, consistency is going to be the most important factor. And although there is only a single meter difference between the max ranges that these can 1-shot kill, the number of pellets that can miss and still reliably 1-shot are going to extend all the way down into optimal ranges at 3, 4, and 5 meters. However, when considering the fastest firing archetype, although it can expend 2 rounds and land the kills even further than any of the slower firing shotguns, it is extremely ammo intensive and there is still a delay inside the optimal ranges that the other shotguns can 1-shot. Now, I don't want it to seem like I'm downplaying the capabilities of these faster fire rate shotguns. Although it takes 2 rounds, it is still capable of killing at a longer range than any of the other shotguns. As always, it comes down to personal preference when trying to choose a shotgun for you. Not only does the shotgun have to match your playstyle, but you also have to adapt your playstyle to the capabilities of each shotgun. And so in the next section of this video, we will look into all of the roles that can drop on a shotgun and which ones might be the best fit for you and which ones have the greatest impact on how a shotgun performs. As we established earlier in this video, the range stat has very little impact on the overall performance of your shotgun, especially when it comes to damage falloff. But as we look into the perk tree where accurized rounds is available, there are only a couple of other good options that can synergize well with the shotgun, and the same is true for masterworks. Still, in the world of random rolls, when trying to choose the best shotgun currently in your inventory, accurized rounds and a ranged masterwork are going to be the least important. As I've said many times in this video, picking the right shotgun for you comes down to personal preference. One of my personal favorites is a retold tale that has appended mag, quick draw, and slide shot. And that is because, as you'll see in the background gameplay here, sliding reloads 2 rounds into the mag as opposed to only 1 for most other slow firing shotguns, and this works well with my aggressive playstyle. However, some less aggressive players may prefer to have a perk like auto-loading holster or rampage. Whatever your preference, you can find all of the possible roles on each shotgun at light.gg, which is linked in the description. In either case, no matter what your preference, the most important role to have on any shotgun is going to be on the barrel, and that is always going to be full choke. As we covered earlier, this is because it keeps the pellet spread tighter and ensures the maximum number of pellets are landing on your target, whatever range you are shooting from. Now, when it comes to perks, as always, we've saved the best for last. I'm of course talking about the Parcel of Stardust, which is capable of dropping with the opening shot perk. We learned from our previous testing that opening shot has the most range out of any other perk, and so it has the potential to make this shotgun the most lethal out there. Unfortunately, we did not have one for the testing in this video, as it is a rare drop from Gambit. So if you are lucky enough to have a Parcel of Stardust with opening shot and full choke, consider yourself lucky, and we would love to know how it performs in the comments below. Even though a God Roll Parcel of Stardust would be amazing, I still want to make it clear that each shotgun has a range at which it excels, and each has their benefits and drawbacks. With each archetype choice, you are sacrificing certain advantages and gaining other benefits as well. When choosing your favorite shotgun or the best roll available to you, it is important to apply what we know from this video. That is where each shotgun is most effective and at which range it's not. So familiarizing yourself with, for example, what 7 or 8 meters looks like in game with a 45 or 55 rounds per minute shotgun will help you to know when to pull the trigger versus when to shoot 2 rounds with a faster firing archetype from the same range, or even up to 10 meters. Knowing when and how your shotgun is effective alongside what rolls you are using will be a huge help in making for a better shotgun player. As for which archetype is best, of course, personal preference is still the most important, but I tend to prefer the 45 or 55 rounds per minute archetype because it has the best one-shot consistency at all ranges. The reason is that at optimal shotgun range, more pellets can miss the target and still one-shot your opponent. With faster firing archetypes, Even at point blank range, only 2 pellets can miss and still land a one-shot kill. Just 3 pellets off target will cause your 90 or 100 rounds per minute shotgun to not one-shot, either expending more ammo or losing the 1v1 to a slower firing shotgun. With faster firing shotguns, your aim must be at center mass at all times in order to score a one-shot kill. This is why a 45 and 55 rounds per minute shotgun can be a little less accurate and still award the kill in a single shot. Hopefully this guide has helped to inform your shotgun choices for both rounds per minute and perks, as well as where they perform best. Thank you for watching, and if you found this video helpful, be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, this is Mr. Manfred, your shotgun ape, retiring to a fine glass of Lagavulin 12-year.